Bring us in, babe.
Welcome to
Coco
Caliente.
What an exciting episode we have today.
It is. It's about sea turtles.
It's about turtles. It's about animals. Nicole's an animal lover. And we have Melissa Bernhard. She is a researcher, and she works at a conservatory for sea turtles.
Yeah. She's a marine biologist.
She went back.
And sea turtle expert. That's pretty BA, if you ask me. Who... If you think about it, like that's such a specific job to go and like an occupation to have, right?
Yeah.
Like you're studying one specific type of sea turtle.
Yeah, not even like all the species. Like she studies one, I think it's like the loggerhead or something like that, which she knows everything about the loggerhead sea turtles. So
it's just very interesting.
It is. I actually really enjoyed this one. It was very, very informative. I felt like I was like on a Nat Geo or Discovery Channel type thing, how she's talking about it, you know?
Yeah, and it's really nice to bring this podcast back to the stuff that we love. And especially, I love animals, but especially what you love. You love research, you love cold, hard facts, you love, that type of thing. Not the gossipy, type podcast.
No.
Like this is what you like, the expert
This
stuff.
is rejuvenating me.
Yeah.
It is.
It makes me feel more like this is purposeful. Mm-hmm. Like we're spreading knowledge that can help the world instead of just like other things.
It's interesting that you said that because an episode that I did while you were gone, Angels for Change. Yeah. I was talking about, if you guys didn't hear it, you can go back and listen to it. Basically, an organization that gets medications for people that can't get medications for cancer-saving treatments, right? Which is bizarre. The treatment's there, you just can't get it. Well, somebody listened to our podcast and reached out to Angels for Change, and their son was able to get the treatment that he needed, which he didn't have before. So, so maybe somebody listens to this and decides that their calling is to help turtles, or they just want to help, or
just we know as like
be more conscious.
How can we help them without with all the studying and everything? Just like basic, how can you and I every day help these sea turtles?
Exactly. So we hope you guys enjoy Melissa Bernhard. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Melissa.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Good.
Is this weird for you? Do you ever do podcasts, by the way?
I have only done our institutional podcast once, and that was probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, we're anti-establishment. This is not the institution. No, I'm kidding. Hi, Melissa. I'm Victor, and my co-host and my beautiful fiance.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today. It was interesting because we had a list of people that we could podcast with, like potential guests. And as soon as we saw like marine biologists, turtles, like conservation, we're like, oh, we have to have her.
Yep.
This, is so interesting.
Yeah. That's one of the nice things about what I do is everybody wants to talk about it. So it's really easy to engage people and interest them.
Is it to the point where it's annoying? Like at a dinner party or something, or you're like, all right, can we talk about something else that's not turtles?
It can't. I don't know if annoying is the right word, but it gets repetitive sometimes.
Got you.
Sure.
Okay, fair enough.
We like to joke that we should change the shirts that we wear on the beach for work into just like the top 10 answers, so that as we're like bending over working on stuff, they can just read, 100 eggs, or it'll take 2 months, or, things like that. So you can just read the answer that they want and then move on. But
that's interesting. Well, Melissa, tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Melissa Bernhard. I am a senior biologist and the conservation manager of the Sea Turtle Conservation and Research Program at Mote Marine Laboratory in Sarasota, Florida. Which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically it means that I run the day-to-day aspects of our sea turtle nesting surveys that are conducted to basically get data on the nesting population of our local sea turtles.
So you're saving the world one sea turtle at a time.
Mm-hmm. Trying to, yeah.
So when you went to, I think it's, how do you pronounce it? Is that Kutztown University?
Kutztown, yeah.
Kutztown. So when you went to Kutztown University in Pennsylvania as a freshman, were you like, well, you know what? I'm going to go in here and I'm going to study marine sciences and biology to save sea turtles. Was that the goal from the beginning?
Kind of. You could go even farther back to when I was probably still in elementary school. We saw some turtles at like a local park, and I spent hours just watching them, and they were pond turtles, but from there I was like, these turtle things, they're really cool. Started reading a lot of books about them. I got into reptiles in general from there, and I really just liked that reptiles weren't mammals. Trying, I guess, to be a little hipster and not so mainstream. I don't know if I can call myself that. But I really, really liked the ocean. So I wanted to do reptiles and the ocean, which actually don't really go hand in hand very much. There aren't very many marine reptiles. So that's where the sea turtle part kind of came into play.
So what's the main difference between a reptile and a mammal? Actually, Nicole, do you know this?
Yes, I do. Aren't they warm-blooded? Mammals are warm-blooded, right?
Most of them are, yeah.
Oh, most of them.
I honestly, I don't know.
I'm not actually sure. Again, I'm not a mammal expert.
Yeah.
But they are fairly closely related classes of animals versus like mammals and fish, or mammals and coral. Those obviously are much more different than mammals and reptiles. They're both still amniotes, so they have similar aspects to their reproduction and development. But reptiles, yeah, they have very different physiology than mammals do.
Does it have to be it has to do with like eggs? Like one has eggs, or are there reptiles that have live births?
Oh, yeah.
There are reptiles that give live birth. Snakes are super weird. There are some groups of snakes that give live birth. There are some groups of snakes that lay eggs and still give live birth, like the eggs from within them hatch versus like a placental connection like a mammal has. And there are some mammals that lay eggs. So it's not exclusively.
In school, they make it seem so clear cut.
Yeah, it's like
there's no outliers.
Fur and live births, and no fur and eggs. That's what it makes it seem like.
Yeah. So fur is very mammalian. If it has fur, like true fur, true hair, that's a mammalian thing. Producing milk is a very mammalian thing. The scales of reptiles is a very reptilian thing, though obviously fish have scales as well. And a lot of it really has to do with less the anatomy and more the internal workings of them. Because if you look at skeletons, for example, you can see so many similarities between, a cat and a turtle, excluding the shell, obviously. But they look similar in structure in a lot of ways, but have different genetics that make things work differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
You're dumbing it down for me in a way that I can understand it, so I appreciate that.
This episode is brought to you by Issue. If you're creative, you know the drill. You're finally done editing. It's perfect. Now you just need to format and reformat for every single platform. With Issue, make it once and it's ready to post everywhere. Issue is the all-in-one platform to create and distribute beautiful digital publications, from brochures to magazines to sales collateral and more. It's perfect for creators, marketers, designers, educators, publishers, salespeople, or anyone that wants to make eye-catching content. And Issue makes it easy. Simply upload your PDF and files, and Issue transforms them using your vision and customizable templates to create the content you want. And you can start using Issue for free. Get started with Issue today. If you sign up for a premium account, you will get 50% off when you go to issue.com/podcast and use promo code Coco. That's Issue, ISSUU.com/podcast, and use promo code Coco, COCO, at checkout for your free account or 50% off your premium account. That's Issue.com/podcast with promo code Coco.
And so when you graduated Kutztown University, how did you come about going to this internship at the Sea Turtle Conservation? Like, where did that even come about?
I did the internship while I was still at Kutztown. I did it between my junior and senior year.
Oh.
One of our requirements for our science majors was to do either an independent research project or an internship, and I actually wound up doing both. But
overachiever.
But it's to get experience in different things, because internship is a lot more, in the actual
like a hands-on
field,
in the field,
a hands-on sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the research was designed to kind of get us experience with designing research projects and executing them, while simple compared to what most researchers do on grander scales, but to prepare us for grad school in that way. Whereas an internship, in theory, I guess, is more preparing you for, jumping into the job world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was pretty set on going to grad school, but still wanted to do the internship to kind of get my foot in the door, so to speak, and also just make sure that grad school was what I wanted to do. So I just found the internship online.
Oh.
There are lots of really great ways to search for internships online.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of job boards, lots of people who know people that professors know, and that sort of thing. So I applied to a couple and wound up coming here.
That's cool. So you went from Pennsylvania to Florida, because that's in what was it called? Key Largo? Is that Key Largo? Is that where it's at?
We're in Sarasota, which is on the west coast, about halfway up the peninsula, near Tampa Bay. Yeah.
Okay.
There is a Mote facility that is down in the Keys for a lot of the coral restoration work that's done and some of the other things like that. But the main campus where we are is in Sarasota.
And that's where you live? Ooh, I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. Is that where you live full time now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then so when you finished the internship, you went back to get your master's, and then now you're there full time as a senior biologist. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yep. So I actually went back, finished my senior year of college at Kutztown, and then I came back here for a second summer of the internship doing a different aspect of it, doing the nighttime tagging work. And then from there went to grad school and then came back as an employee. So
That's awesome. Yeah. And so when I think about the work you do, I think in my mind, I'd be like, I get to play with turtles all day. Right. I get to play with them. I get to pet them and, talk and hang out. And so, but what is the real, what is...
I think you hang out with the eggs, don't you?
Yeah, they actually have pretty limited interaction with the actual animals themselves. Because my role in our program here primarily works on data collection of the wild nesting population of turtles. We have other groups here that do rehab and stranding response, and some people that take care of resident animals in the aquarium part of our facility. But what I do is just the wild animal nesting surveys. And one thing not everybody realizes is that sea turtles nest at night and on the beach, but they spend the entire rest of their lives in the ocean. So there's actually fairly limited human sea turtle interaction unless the animal is sick or you're on a boat.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which is honestly good, because the human turtle interaction often is negative.
Yeah.
Whether it's intentional or usually it's not, but it's still, they're very simplistic animals. And
so what's their cycle like? So mama turtle, right? Mama turtle comes up on the beach at night. She digs a hole of some sort, right? Her nest, puts the eggs in there, and then kind of pats it down a little bit so it's hidden. Or, that's my simplistic.
That's a really good simplistic way. Yeah, she digs up, or she crawls up on the beach. She digs with her back flippers, digs a hole, deposits her eggs, fills in the hole with her back flippers, and then uses her front flippers to kind of create a disguised area, a big area of thrown sand. So it's less of like, here's my hole of eggs, and more just here's a mound where eggs might be. And then crawls back into the ocean and never sees them again. So,
wow. And you said earlier that on the back of your shirt you wanted to say 100 eggs. So does she lay 100 eggs at a time then?
Approximately,
okay.
yes.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of variation. They're actually very individual animals, and as soon as you think you know one thing certainly about turtles, the next like 4 you see will be completely different, because that's what they like to do.
So is Mama Bear a Mama Turtle? I picture Mama Turtle as like that big turtle from Nemo that's like surfing through the reef. Is that what like a loggerhead sea turtle looks like? Do they get that big or?
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be a green turtle, which is a different species. But yeah, a loggerhead adult is 200 to 300 pounds.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. They're usually, 2 to 3 feet wide and 3 to 4 feet long or so.
Oh, my gosh.
And
is that head to flipper or is that like shell?
That's their shell. Most of the measurements for turtles are done on the shell.
Oh, so they're even bigger than that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I would have never guessed. So have you seen if you're doing like the people that are doing the nighttime stuff, do they normally see these big mama turtles come up onto the shore?
Yeah, that's the main goal of the nighttime cruise that we have is to see the nesting females in a way that doesn't disturb her, and do tagging, mark recapture studies, basically to put tags and take measurements on these nesting females to basically get a feel for which females are coming back, how frequently they're coming back, how many of them are coming back, to try to understand the population better.
Oh, so so how do you know if it's the same turtle?
So we put on tags that are either external that you can read without anything, or we also use a microchip, which is like what people use in their cats and dogs, that you have to have a special reader for. So we usually put both of these tags on the turtle so that if one is lost, you can still identify the individual. And if anybody sees the turtle anywhere, they can read the external tags on her front flippers, as long as they don't have barnacles growing on them or other complications. But only people who have the readers, which is basically anyone who has a scanner for it at the right frequency, can read the internal microchip tags.
This episode is brought to you by Bruche.
Think about how many times you've brushed your teeth in your lifetime. You probably do it without thinking at this point. Thanks to Bruche, you'll never brush again. Brushing your teeth is a chore, but brushing is fun and 100 times as effective. It cleans your teeth at 31,000 movements a minute, and a manual toothbrush just tops out at 300.
And what's great about this toothbrush, Bruche specifically, it has a 4-week battery life. It has a smart timer with a quad pacer, so you'll be brushing in, like, let's say, for example, I cut up my mouth in 4 pieces, right? That's how I brush. So I'll start on the top right, and then it'll pause, and you're like, okay, now it's time to switch. And it'll pause again, and so you do that for all 4 quadrants, which is awesome. Yeah. And it has 6 cleaning modes. So they have daily, white, gentle, gum, max, and tum. And so I normally brush mine on gentle because I got sensitive teeth.
And you can refill your subscription. 3 replacement brushes shipped every 6 months for just $18. If you want to get 15% off your Bruche when you use promo code Coco at Bruche.com, go ahead and visit the site. Try it 90 days risk-free and get a 2-year warranty. That's Bruche.com, BRUUSH.com, promo code Coco. Do the sea turtles get scared, like when you approach them to put these on, or are they pretty calm?
Or do because I picture a long stick that you guys try to use, or like a blow dart to put it on their back or something.
No. Well, we actually get pretty close to them in order to tag them, but yes, they can be spooked fairly easily, and different species spook differently. And obviously different individuals are different, just like you might like scary movies, but your neighbor doesn't. Turtles are kind of like that too, but they can very easily be spooked. And we take a lot of precautions in order to not approach them until they're at this point of nesting where it's a lot less likely to spook them, and we encourage people to not be out on the beach looking for the turtles because they are so easily spooked.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you guys know what you're doing with all your research. Like, if someone else, don't go out on the beach and try to do anything to these turtles, anybody, let them do it.
Right. Aside from the fact that it's illegal to harass.
Oh, there you go.
Harass them or approach them in any way.
It's illegal.
It's also not good for the turtles, which is why it's illegal. But we have our permits and our training in order to do it. So
and how often do you see that the turtle will be coming back to lay eggs?
Yeah, how often are they laying eggs? I guess.
So there are kind of two different ways to answer that. How often within a season? Because an individual can lay more than one nest. Yeah, a nesting female, I think we've documented up to 8 times in one nesting season, but I think the average is much lower than that, probably closer to like 4 or 5 would be my guess. Usually every 12 to 14 days. So she lays her nest, goes out into the ocean, gets the next clutch ready inside of her, and then comes up and does it all again 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
So do they have to mate several times, or just from that first contact that they have, they can have several sets of eggs?
Yeah, they can store sperm, so they mate multiple times, most likely as they're migrating back to their nesting grounds, because they don't live in their nesting grounds full time. So as they're migrating and they encounter males, they'll mate with them. Whether or not they're mating in between nesting is kind of up for debate. Some of them, I'm sure if they encountered a male, would mate, but it's not their main priority at that point. Yeah, they're mostly just trying to save as much energy as they can to put into these eggs and lay the nest, because they're also not, like I said, they're not there full time, so that's not where they're used to foraging. So they're not really eating a whole lot or working on fat stores or anything like that. So they've got a fairly limited energy supply.
So how far are these turtles traveling? Like from, once they're done through the season laying eggs, like how far out do they go again?
From our area, which, like I said, is on the west coast of Florida, so the eastern Gulf of Mexico, we have satellite tagged turtles that end up in the Yucatan, that end up in the Caribbean, that end up the northern Gulf of Mexico, near Louisiana, Texas, that area. There are some that go all the way around Florida to the East Coast. There are some that live in the Keys, and there are some that just go to Tampa Bay, which is just next door. So they can, anywhere from tens to hundreds of miles to thousands of miles probably away.
Wow.
Such interesting
and
species.
So I have some more questions. I'm sorry. I'm like,
no, this is what it's for.
So when the eggs are laid and then they're buried, how long do they stay under there before they hatch and then crawl to the water?
It depends on a lot of different factors. Obviously, species have different incubation times, but temperature plays a huge role in incubation of probably all animals that require an incubation period. Hotter temperatures just make things happen faster chemically. That's like a chemical property. It's not just like in development. So nests that are in warmer areas will incubate faster than nests that are in cooler areas. So sand, temperature, color, water content, all of that plays a role into it. But the average here is usually around 2 months, 6 weeks to 2 months of incubation.
Wow. And so you keep an eye on those nests.
That seems stressful to wait that long for you guys.
Yeah. Like, where the nest is, and then you just kind of keep an eye on it, so no, people interfere with it. Like, this is where people build sandcastles and go to the beach, correct?
Yeah. All of our beaches, are have public access points, or whether or not they're fully public or private. They're all used by private homeowners as well as the public. So what I actually do, I don't go out at night very much, but I manage the morning surveys. So we start at the like very, very earliest light, and we go out on the beach. We survey at the waterline to look for where the turtles came out the night before, and if it's a nest there, we'll stake off the nest to protect it, and know which nest is which and collect the data on it, and we store it in this massive database that we have so we can follow each nest story.
Wow.
Because I can tell you 2 months after a nest is laid, I will have not remembered the details of it because there's been another however many 3,000 nests laid between those dates. So yeah, we keep track of them all that way. Some of them get more data collected than others based on, you know, how we're designing the sampling of the area. But we do keep track of all of them.
Yeah, and I think it's important, too. I was reading in, like, an article that I think you commented on that, or I think this is your words, like, that they don't have hard exterior shells that, like, chicken eggs have, and a lot of people are familiar with, and they just have, like, a leathery skin, so they're prone to crushing and popping. And so I think some people may not know that, and so they think that they're a lot more durable than they are.
Yeah, it's true. They don't have that hardened, calcified shell. They do still have a calcium shell, but it's more of a thicker, leathery, membrane-ish type thing. Yeah. More than what most people envision as, like, when they go in their, you know, fridge in the morning and crack an egg. That hard shell is not seen on the sea turtles. So, yeah, they are definitely prone, rather than being crushed like a chicken egg would be, like, crushed if you dropped it or ran over it. They're more likely to pop like a water balloon or something.
This episode is brought to you by Cratejoy. You probably know what a subscription box is. In fact, you probably already have one, maybe like a meal kit or a pet box. But did you know there's one great place where you can shop thousands of subscriptions, no matter your interests? Well, there is. Welcome to Cratejoy. Cratejoy is the first and only subscription box marketplace. You can shop over thousands of unique boxes and gifts for just about anything you can imagine.
Yeah, and I actually got several gifts off Cratejoy for my family this year. It's something that's personalized, it's fun, it's unique. I can find a box for Victor, I found a box for my mom, for my brother, for my dad, for my brother's girlfriend. There's so many, my grandma. There's so many different things, and it feels like it's totally unique to them and very personal for them. There's escape rooms and mystery boxes for adventures at home, which is, I actually got myself one. And then boxes to boost each version of you with self-care, personal growth. There's cocktail kits, snack boxes, monthly book clubs, and do-it-yourself craft kits for all ages.
Yeah, it's great. And right now you can get 30% off your first box when you sign up at cratejoy.com/Coco. That's right. If you sign up today at cratejoy.com/Coco to get 30% off your first box and shop Cratejoy's holiday specials. Cratejoy. Get joy delivered right to your door. And as they get older, I'm asking for a friend, right? Their shell's actually attached to their body. They're not just living in this shell. Like, it's growing with them.
You're asking
blood.
for a friend.
Asking for a friend, right? They can't just get out of the shell, right?
Yeah. So the shell that I was just talking about was their egg shell, not their turtle shell.
Yeah.
So the turtle shell, which is what you're talking about, is actually part of their rib cage. So it's connected to them. They can't take it off like all the cartoon turtles do. It's not like a jacket. It's an actual part of their body. Imagine basically if your ribs were on the outside of your skin, which is essentially what it is. Yeah. So, it is part of them. It grows with them. If it gets nicked or chipped or broken open, it can expose their internal organs, which is where boat strikes become some of the problems for them.
And does it, for example, if there's a small crack in their shell, does it heal itself over time, or how does that work?
Yeah, they can heal. It kind of depends on the severity of it. If it's all the way through, if it's big, or if it's just a little small crack. We see nesting turtles all the time with healed injuries. So whether it's like a boat strike or more often a shark bite, they'll have these divots out of their shell that have healed over, as long as it doesn't cause too much issues with their, bleeding out or injuring an organ, and they can still get around with it, it can heal and they can continue to be turtles and live, which is great.
Is it common for them to get bitten by sharks?
I think once they get to adult size, the biggest threats aside from human issues are shark bites.
No way.
Sharks.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Those bastards. Why would they do that? I mean, it's because they don't seem like a natural predator, right? Mm-hmm. For them.
I mean, they're a big animal with a lot of meat. So if you're a bigger animal who needs a lot of food, they're a food source for some of
Interesting.
them.
I always thought they were like the cool guys of the water. Like nobody's going to mess with them, right? Maybe I'm watching too much cartoons and Nemo.
Well, I mean, I think in general they're big enough and sturdy enough that most animals can't really hurt them. Mm-hmm. But those big top predator sharks, the tiger sharks, the great white sharks, those really big ones with powerful jaws, they can crush through a turtle shell. So if they're hungry and a turtle's there, why not, I guess.
Yeah. And what are we talking about lifespan here for these turtles?
A little unknown because they live in the ocean and they die in the ocean, and we don't live in the ocean often. So we do know that they can live 80 years at least. Most of what we know about turtles, like I said, is from the nesting females. So most of the lifespans that we can guess are based on how long turtles have been seen nesting. So, for example, we saw a turtle last summer nesting here that was originally tagged in 1988.
Oh.
So we know that she was at least 25 in 1988, and she's still nesting in 2020. So she's at least around 60.
She's still ovulating. Good for her.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other cool thing is they don't have a senescence or a menopause period. So as long as they're alive and able to crawl on the beach, they'll lay nests and reproduce.
So what are the turtles that live like? Are there turtles that live over 100 years? What turtles are those?
Well, I know a lot of those like giant tortoises in the Galapagos. They have better records of, this turtle is this turtle, and we've seen it for 150 years or whatnot. But they're on land, and it's easier in some ways to track them because they've got a smaller range.
Yeah.
So they've got like, this is the turtle that Charles Darwin saw when he was here, and whatever year. So we know that it was here then, it's here now, it's still alive.
Wow.
That sort of thing. Sea turtles are more mysterious because we can't contain them for their whole lives in the wild. They hatch as hatchlings the size of your palm, which are really a little too small for good long-term tags.
Yeah.
And their life expectancy at that rate, at that size is very low. Their mortality rate is through the roof, and so it's a little bit of a guessing game. So if we say like, okay, let's tag all these turtles, what are the chances that any of them are going to survive the next time we see them? Is pretty low. So there's that complication in it that you don't get with some of those other ones that we have better ability to say like, okay, we'll keep it in this pinned off forest and then track it and see how it does. Or know that it only has a home range of, 2 miles. And so it's got to be in these 2 miles somewhere, whereas a turtle literally is hatching in Sarasota, floating around the tip of Florida all the way through the Atlantic Ocean, and then making its way from, off the coast of England all the way back to the Caribbean before it starts even thinking about sexually reproduction. And at that point, I'm then retired, and then it's difficult to follow them through with their life. So
when these little eggs, when they hatch and they start, is that the most vulnerable time from hatching out of the sand and going back to the ocean?
Yeah, probably. they're very well adapted for life in the ocean. They've got their big rudder-like flippers. They don't have fingers or claws like land turtles and pond turtles do. So their movement on land isn't very good. They're pretty heavy. Like I said, their sea turtles are big for turtles. Even a small sea turtle is big for turtles in general. So they aren't built well for walking and crawling on sand. So they're slow, cumbersome. They take a lot of breaks. Hatchlings obviously are lighter than adults, so they can crawl faster. But they don't have anything to guide them other than their instinct. So,
and is
there's
that. is that why the light? Because I was reading something about lights at the businesses around these beaches. Is that something that affects their senses to get back to the ocean?
Yeah, it's important for hatchlings and nesting females. The hatchlings are more sensitive to it for some reason or another. But the instinct that turtles use to find their way back to the water or to the water for the first time has to do with the brightness of the horizon. So whether or not that means they go towards the brightest horizon, or more recently some people are suggesting they go away from the darkest horizon. They're going towards, hopefully, that shiny water that's brighter and lighter than a dark dune would be in a natural setting.
Okay.
But when you start putting homes and businesses and parking lots and condos and high rises and all those things with their bright white lights on at night so that we as humans can see, since we're not adapted to walking around in the dark, then the turtles with their little tiny pea brains don't know that that's not the direction they're supposed to go. So they end up crawling that way, assuming instinctually that that's the correct direction to find the water. And often it leads to bad things.
And once they hit the water, then, is their survival rate pretty good or no?
I would say their survival rate is pretty low until they reach adulthood.
And how come?
Yeah, they are small, so pretty much anything bigger than them will eat them.
Oh.
And they, that's probably the biggest thing.
They'll eat them in their little shell. That makes
Nicole
no
has like
sense.
the saddest face, saddest look on her face right now.
Yeah, but that's part of why turtles have the reproductive strategy that they do have, and why they lay 100 eggs in a nest and they lay 5 nests in a season. They're putting out thousands of offspring in their lifetime. Because if you think about that, like 500 eggs every 2 to 3 years, because they don't nest every year. And then they're nesting from the time that they're 25 until they die in their 80s, 90s, 100s. That's a ton of turtle offspring out there. But they don't put any maternal care into it. So that's their cost to benefits. They say, well, let me just put as many out there as I can, and hopefully one of them has enough sense to figure it out and get to this point and do the same thing again.
So they will, if they ever meet their mom in the ocean, will they even know? I
doubt it. I don't know that they would know, or they even understand what a mom is. I love reptiles to death, but they are not very cognizant animals. A loggerhead has a giant head, and everyone's like, oh, that's cool. It must be, so smart because it's got this huge head. And then if you actually look inside the skull, it's got these huge, massive openings. And they're like, oh, wow, look how big the brain is. And like, nope, that's muscle. The brain is the little teeny tiny thumb-sized hole in their massive head. So it's not, they're not designed for, theoretical physics or understanding family dynamics or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And so to wrap this up, what advice would you have to people out on the beach to be able to help sea turtles as much as they can, as far as, I see there's a YouTube video about sunscreens and things like that, and building sandcastles. What advice would you give to listeners?
Yeah, I mean, you can help turtles whether you live at the beach or not. Obviously, if you live near the beach or you go on vacation near the beach, there's some great things you can do to keep that beach healthy and happy. And the best thing to simplify it that I can say is keep it as natural as possible. So keep it dark, take your chairs away, knock down any sandcastles, fill in any holes, anything that isn't what a turtle naturally millions of years may have seen when she crawled out of the water is something that could potentially cause problems. But if you don't live near the beach, which most people don't, you can still, reduce your general pollution, use reusable bags, eliminate as much as you can using plastic or non-renewable resources, limit your runoff of chemicals, all of those things that will help not just turtles, but the ocean in general, the planet in general is going to help turtles, because a healthy ocean is going to help a healthy turtle.
Because in reality, we're the biggest predators of the sea turtles, correct? Yeah, that's so sad. Like, we need to get our crap together. We're smart. We can fix this. Like, geez, Pete's. It's terrible.
Yeah, a lot of direct human impacts, whether it's, catching, like bycatch and fishing or long lines or boat strikes or entanglements or light pollution causing them to go the wrong direction and get hit by cars or, whatever it is. A lot of that is human related. And these animals have been around for millions of years dealing with the natural things. They can deal with hurricanes, they can deal with sharks, they can deal with their natural mortality rate. It's the additional things that have caused the population problems, losing their habitat. There are so many places where the nesting beach is just diminishing and they can't nest in the ocean. That's part of how their egg is built. It needs to be not underwater. So we need to have nesting beaches for them. We need to have access to those nesting beaches and not getting hit by boats and all those things. So
after the what is it? The nesting season this year, that I guess officially it's May 1st to October 31st, correct?
Officially, yes.
Yes, officially, yeah, quote unquote officially. So how are we
turtles
looking?
Don't read calendars.
Yeah, exactly. So how are we looking after having this year's data and and all the years before that? Are we doing good? Is it better? Is it getting better?
Our local numbers for the last 15 years have been on an exponential increase.
Nice.
Which is great. And it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the people 25, 30, 40 years ago who started the program and other similar programs and supported the Endangered Species Act when it was new, because that's how long it takes these animals to reach maturity. So that's why we're now starting to see more adults, hopefully, in the wild to lay these more nests. So obviously, there's fluctuation year to year. We have different turtles nesting this year than we did last year. So this year was lower than last year, but it's still in our top 5 overall, and overall trends are still going up. So
okay, well, you know what? Are you trying to be the Jane Goodall of turtles?
I don't know that I'm trying to do that. I'm just trying to make a little bit of a difference that I can.
No, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks. Of course.
And thank you for being on the show. Is there any? What's the website, or if people want to help out or get more information, where can they go?
Yeah, so I work for the Mote Marine Laboratory in Sarasota. Our website is really simple, just mote.org, M-O-T-E, .org, and you can find out information about not just my program, but all the research programs, the aquarium, the education programs, everything that we do is all linked through that website. And the segment that I filmed for Mission Unstoppable is going to Snapchat, which I didn't realize was a thing, but
cool.
You can now watch episodes of Mission Unstoppable on Snapchat.
That's so cool.
And so on next Monday, actually on the 7th, is when my story will appear, but they have new episodes every Monday featuring women in science doing not just turtles, but all sorts of crazy, awesome things. technology and engineering and biology and chemistry and physics, all that. So really cool things to learn about if you're interested in that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Nicole had to walk away with the dogs who started barking at the FedEx guy. But we really appreciate you, and thank you so much for being on the show with us today, and we wish you the best.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you
so much.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
What a great conversation.
Yeah, I loved it.
Do you feel now more connected with turtles than you ever did before?
Yeah, it just makes me feel, when we have those types of conversations, it just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just...
like you're learning something you didn't know. And it gives a little... I don't know, because you hear about conservation efforts all the time, but until you actually sit down and talk with somebody that does that, it makes it a little bit more real.
Totally.
Right? And you take it to heart more, you know.
And I feel like her life has to be so fulfilling.
Absolutely.
Like, if that's what you do, you wake up every day and that's what you're, like, worried about, I feel like that's so fulfilling. Like, that's my calling, I'm going to do it, and everybody leave me alone.
Yeah. And I think the other way, too. I think, like let's say that's what you're doing, right? She does that all the time, every day, right? And she's focused on that one problem, right? Just that one issue. But then when you think about all the problems out there, are you like, oh my God, there's no way?
No, because I think there's somebody for all of them.
Yeah.
And I think, like, some people will be like to me, you share so much animal stuff. Like, you need to share this stuff. It's like, no, you know what I mean?
Well, and to your defense, I mean, you can't do everything.
No.
Right?
That's just what my passion is. And so it's very easy for me to take up all the spots on my feed and my story with sharing good animal things or animals that need help. Or it's just what I find that I want to do, because you don't think that's what I should be doing it's not going to change. I'm still going to do it.
Well, and also where the other problem lies is that person that is exerting their energy, telling you what you should be doing.
They should be doing
They should be doing something else.
Yeah, so it's just, I love watching people do their passion. I don't care if it's something really tiny that they think is really tiny or other people think is really tiny, because it's actually really big. Instead of spreading,
impact.
If you're spreading, like, okay, so on a typical day for me, I'm spreading all of my, what do I call it? Like, all of my energy throughout, say, like 20 different projects. Imagine, and they're kind of like they're getting done, but they're not like getting done as fast or as good as they can be.
Yeah.
And say I focused all my efforts on one thing. Oh my gosh. I feel like that one thing would be absolutely amazing. And if we all did that, instead of trying to be the best at everything, it would be really good for the world.
And I think there's a saying like that, like, you can't be the best at everything because you're not giving your all to that one thing, right? So so that is interesting. Anyway, changing gears, you have a weird or normal for us today,
I do.
Right? Weird
or
normal.
Okay, so is it weird or normal to check your Christmas lights before you put them up?
Okay.
It's definitely normal.
Okay.
And Victor did not do that.
So, okay, but let me defend myself a little bit, right?
That's fine.
So I know that, right?
Yeah, you do.
I do know that. But I got so gung-ho. We woke up this weekend, it was after Thanksgiving, I don't know, Saturday, Sunday?
It was really warm.
It was Sunday. So it was a beautiful day out. Today, not so beautiful. We got like several inches of snow out. It's like a blizzard out there. It's nasty. But so we wake up. It's like, okay, we're going to do the Christmas decorations. So I get up. I get the ladder out. I get all the boxes. I mean, we already have them out. Get the lights. And I start going after it. And actually, I went and helped your dad unload wood.
Yeah.
He had a whole trailer of firewood.
Yeah.
So I helped him do that, and I got back here, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. So I get up there with the ladder, start hooking everything up. I get 3/4 of the way done with the roof of the house, doing the outline, and I go, oh, Nicole, do you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to check the lights. And she's like, uh-oh. And I was like, well,
they're honestly like really good lights. Like,
she spent a lot of money on these lights.
Our odds are really great that they're going to work, okay? Because I bought like the bougie lights.
Yeah, and they're like the short bulbs, so they have like less chance of breaking.
And we've only used them one time before this. I was like, oh, they're like the icicle ones. I mean, they're going to be fine.
And so I connect them, and lo and behold, out of, I think it was 3 long strands that we had hooked up together, 2 of them had half of the lights that didn't turn on. And we're like, oh my God. So we checked the fuses to make sure the fuses were fine. Then we started fiddling a little bit with the bulbs, but we're like, there's no way we're going to find this out in this amount of time. There's lights already on the house. So we had to go buy more lights. And I had to uninstall and reinstall all the lights again.
Yeah, but we got it done. It looks great.
So normal would be check your lights.
Yes.
Because there's other places now across the U.S. where you wouldn't have put lights up yet because you don't have to. Over here, you got to do it a little early because of winter. So
we're a little
word
early,
of advice to every person, especially I know whoever's doing lights that day is going to be pissed off, right? Because doing lights is not as fun as it seems. So that to save yourself a little bit of anger, frustration, and time, check your lights. Do yourself a favor.
I did get a lot of messages on Instagram of people saying that they've done the same thing this year.
Oh my gosh! And the thing is, I was telling Nicole. Nicole used to do the same thing. I used to sit with my parents before we did anything with lights, before we even put them on the Christmas tree. The first thing is we all sat around, connect the lights, and check the bulbs, switch bulbs. With the old, whatever. Christmas. You decorate a lot, too, here. Nicole really goes gun-ho. She made me put a village together, and I've never done that before.
My mom buys us, every Christmas, she buys us one of the little village houses, or we got an ice skating rink over there with figurines that move.
That move and skate.
So
we have 3 houses, like one big house and 2 other smaller houses. Actually, in one of the houses, they dance, don't they?
Yeah, they do. So it's pretty cool. And Victor put it together this year.
I almost did. Nicole's like, I'm going to shower. You start putting the village together. I was like, no. And then I felt bad. And
you
then
didn't say no like that. You were just like, no, it was worse. You're like, can I just sit down for a minute?
Well, granted, we were up from 8 a.m. all the way, and that had to be around 5 o'clock.
We had so much energy that day. That was like we were running a leg of the Amazing Race. That's
and then
what
we watched the
Mike
Mike Tyson fight that night until 1 in the morning.
You're right.
So that was a long day. But then before she went in the shower, I felt bad that I said no, and I was like...
No, because before I was like, you're like, grab me a beer and I'll do it.
No, that's what I mean. So I felt bad that I had said no. So before you went into the shower, I was like, grab me a beer and I'll do it. Right? And so she got me the village, she grabbed me the beer, and I started doing it, and I got it done. And what I didn't tell you is, that they had fake snow for that over there? So I was opening up the boxes, right?
Which one? Did you throw away the fake snow?
No, I didn't throw away. Nicole hasn't heard this before. I'm just telling her now. So I opened one of the boxes, right? And it had the house, and it had a dog with the thing on it with the snow or whatever. And then it had a little bag of fake snow, like a plastic bag. And I was like, oh, hell no. That we're not, because I just foresee that being all over the ground, all over the counter.
That's ridiculous. I'm going to find that.
No, it's put away. You're good. You don't need it. I should have never said anything.
No, it would look better with fake snow.
On what?
What?
It's not for the ice skating rink.
No, it's for around
we don't
houses.
Need. How are you going to collect that later? We're not. No, it's fine. We don't need it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, what's the Spanish word of the day?
Oh, you want to know the Spanish word of the day?
Yeah, he doesn't know it, so he's stalling right now.
I do know it.
Okay, what is it? Are you
ready?
Yeah.
Arbol.
What?
Arbol. Is that? Yeah. Arbol.
Turtle.
Arbol.
Turtle.
No, it's not turtle. That would have been a good one, but you would have got it. Tortuga.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, árbol.
Can you use it in a sentence, please?
Tenemos un árbol en esta casa.
Fake snow?
Snow is nieve. But don't make me use all these up because we've got, Christmas episodes coming up. Árbol.
Can you use it?
We have one in our house.
Can you use it in a chimney? Can you use it in a sentence, English sentence, but except for switch the English word to Spanish, please?
Okay, that's very specific. During Christmas, you have to have an árbol in your house.
Christmas tree?
Tree.
Got it.
That made it a whole lot easier when I had to do an English sentence with a Spanish word in the middle of it. You know what we should start doing? Instead of just the Spanish word of the day, I got to say the word, and then you have to try to spell it first. And then you go about trying to
maybe
figure out what it is.
Maybe that'll be the 2021 thing.
2021. Come on. Isn't it crazy that we're today as we're doing this podcast is December 1st?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is.
Time flies.
Yeah, it was just it seemed like a couple months ago when we were at the roaring 1920s wedding we were at bringing in 2020. We thought it was going to be such a good year. What fools we were.
What fools we were. 2021 has been a big kick in the gonads.
2020.
That's what I said. Did I say 21? 2020 has been a
Don't already jinx 2021.
I'm sorry. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Okay, wrap us up, babe.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Please.
A kick in the gonads.
A kick in the gonads. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. The easiest ways on the little podcast, Apple Podcast app. It's a little purple app on your phone, or you can just go to Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. Tell all your friends. You can always go to www.cococalientepodcast.com. Make sure to follow us at Coco Caliente Pod on Twitter and at Coco Caliente Podcast on Instagram. And don't forget to check out our merchandise, which we're almost sold out of everything, pretty much. We do got to restock soon, but 2021 will be the year. All right. Thank you, guys.